today or tonight on the housing element, how might you vote? If you had to vote tonight on the housing element, how would you vote?
If I had to vote, I would vote yes. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, there's nothing in the housing element that mandates that we build anything. We have to identify where the ridiculous state mandate would fit in, but it does not mandate building anything. So that's number one. Number two, there are great risks to the city in doing nothing. It runs the risk of Ojai, in effect, being an open city in terms of developers, in terms of how developers, in terms of development, because if we are declared to be without an element, then our whole general plan is invalid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's all sorts of ramifications. The best part of the housing element is that it includes a major effort to count existing units that are as of yet uncounted towards the goal of meeting the housing requirement. So you've got all the illegal second dwellings that are not counted. The plan calls for them to be counted. Now, unfortunately, once again, the city has, despite having debated this for at least 2 years, the city has still, as of yet, to formulate an amnesty policy, still has yet to begin to figure out how they're going to count the number of second dwellings. They've done nothing to prepare for the deadline which is coming up. And I think that's wrong. And I agree with Paul. You know, if I have talked at council meetings during the open mic thing at the beginning. I think we should have a moratorium on the building of any housing other than low-income housing until we figure out traffic, until we figure out water. And I think we desperately need low-income housing because we have lots of people who actually work in this town, you know, the teachers, the firemen, et cetera, who can't afford to live here.
I think the question in a vacuum, if we had to vote today, my answer would probably be yes. But it's a vacuum that I'm answering that question because I don't think that there's been enough deliberation on the part of the council, nor does the council have sufficient enough information right now to make a legitimate yes or no vote in terms of the housing element. I went through 2 housing elements when I was on the planning commission, once when I was the chairman. And I always thought it was a little nonsensical that we'd have to say we were going to build 450 units in the city of Ojai just so that we could make the state happy. Well, eventually you got to say what makes us happy. And what makes us happy is we just as soon do some things like amnesty to help, you know, legalize those dwelling units so that they can count towards low-income housing. We can find some areas to generate low-income housing. Again, with a real problem with this water company issue, what's low income when it costs you twice as much for your water as it will for your rent? I mean, that's a problem. And then the other issue with low-income housing is what do you do about the people that can't work here because there aren't enough jobs in town to support everybody? I mean, that's a real problem too. I remember when I ran a few years ago, I said, do you realize how many people leave the valley every morning to go to work in Ventura and come back? What kind of traffic and what pollution and everything that adds to it. So the housing element in a vacuum, yes, I'd have to vote for it now. But I think that we need a lot more information about it. And the key to the housing element is to take a look and to see what it's going to do to traffic and pollution and things like that. And if there's any way possible that Ojai could put its thumbprint on a housing element without having to just add up numbers for the sake of the state, that's what I think we ought to investigate and look into.